We will move on to our next segment, which is the Lecto Divina. And for those who may be watching for the first time, Lecto Divina is Latin for divine reading. So what we do is we take a particular verse that pertains to tonight's talk, and I will read those Bible verses or verse a few times, and then what we like to do is give ourselves a few minutes to allow God to speak to you, because that's what Lecto Divina is, divine reading. So let God speak to you through this verse, and then we come back and share it, because as you know, iron sharpens iron, and it helps us to grow in not only our relationship with God, but our knowledge of how to love like He loved. So tonight's verse is going to be Sirach chapter 6, verses 13 through 17. Again, that's Sirach uh, chapter 6, verses 13 through 17. Let's get into the word. Lord, speak, and your servant is listening. A faithful friend is a sturdy shelter. He that is found one has found a treasure. There is nothing so precious as a faithful friend, and no scales can measure his excellence. A faithful friend is the elixir of life, and those who fear the Lord will find him. Whoever fears the Lord directs his friendship aright, for as he is, so is his neighbor also. Word of the Lord, thanks be to God. I'll go ahead and read it again. Lord, speak, and your servant is listening. I'm sorry, I missed the verse the first time. It says, keep yourself far from your enemies and be on guard towards your friends. A faithful friend is a sturdy shelter. He that has found one has found a treasure. There is nothing so precious as a faithful friend, and no scales can measure his excellence. A faithful friend is an elixir of life, and those who fear the Lord will find him. Whoever fears the Lord directs his friendship aright. For as he is, so is his neighbor also. Word of the Lord, thanks be to God. So right now, I invite you to close your eyes and open your heart and just ask God, what are you trying to tell me through this verse? And then we'll come back and share. Okay, I'll go ahead and start the sharing. I'm probably going to age myself, but in the words of Houdini, friends. How many of us have them? You know, you really want to see who your friends are. Ask them to help you move, and you'll find out who's your true friend. But I've been fortunate to be a part of this ministry, and I consider the people in my ministry friends, because we all have the same goal, and like the Bible verse says, that find those friends that have the fear of God in their life, and they're going to direct you in your same path. So again, I'm very fortunate to have this ministry, and those that are watching right now, feel free to join this ministry. It's out there for you guys, and it makes a difference. And before, because I never really had friends that were on the same path with God, and before this ministry, the only person that I could truly say that was a friend like that to me is my wife. We've been married now 23 years, known her for 27, and she's always been that type that has led me to God. And she's always been that friend that when I didn't have anything, she was there for me. And it truly is a treasure when you find someone like that that's gonna be there for you, not only in the good times but also in the bad times. So God's just reminded me, when we do find those true friends, godly friends, to cherish them, and to help those relationships grow. So, if anyone else like to share?
I will share. So this verse definitely reminded me of when I was a teenager. I think when I started junior high, my dad would always say, just be careful who you hang out with, because that's who you will be, or who you will become. And I understood it to a certain extent when I was a kid, because it's very important that we choose our friends, or those who we are around, wisely, because they can lead us into their lifestyle, whether it's positive or negative, right? But now, I've been following the Lord for many, many years, but just until a couple of years ago, I really started taking his, just taking the journey just a lot more seriously, I will say, in my spiritual growth. So I did have to change who I was associating with. I have friends that I love them dearly, but usually if I was in a place of sin, oh, it's not too bad. Like, you haven't killed anybody. Like, it's not too bad. But I knew in my heart that I was in living in a place of sin. But they're like, oh, you're not harming anybody again, that. And recently I had been in a friendship for a long time. And so this person would always be questioning my Catholic faith. So recently I had to end that relationship as well, because we were not equally yoked, even as friends, right? So it's hard. It's hard to make those decisions, but it's also a blessing to be surrounded by people that have a love for Christ, that also guide you in the right direction, because we need to stay strong together, and it's very easy to go the other direction. And I'm not saying that these people were bad people or anything like this, but we were definitely not on the same page in our spiritual journey. So it makes it hard when you're trying to go full force in the love of Christ and living a life without, well, I won't say without sin, because we sin every day, but just a different life. So it truly, truly makes a big difference, and it's in scripture, right? So now it makes sense when my dad made reference to what he did, because he was wanting me to live, a godly life. But anyways, that's all I have to share. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, Yoli, for sharing. Would anyone else like to share? Okay. Well, before we move on to the talk, because of the verse, the challenge for the week, for those that are listening right now, or those that are listening later on. For this week, with the verse, thank a friend who has been that sturdy shelter. Pray for wisdom to recognize and become a faithful friend. And last, just like Yoli said, let go of those toxic relationships that are pulling you away from God. So, if you have anything that you'd like to share in the comments later on in the videos, feel free to do that. So right now we're going to move on